Andrew Jackson wouldn't come with a compromise with the Native Americans over land use. Instead, he intensified the conflict when he made it a national policy to remove them from the East. He passed a law which allowed him to make treaties for the Native Americans to give up their land. The Native Americans took this law to court and won. Andrew Jackson refused to listen to the Supreme Court, so he made the Native Americans sign treaties by force and remove the Native Americans from their land. This was called the Indian Removal Act. Andrew Jackson was a threat to the Native Americans. From 1814 to 1824, Andrew Jackson was negotiating 9 out of 11 treaties that divested the southern tribes of their eastern land in exchange for western lands. The Native Americans had Chief John Ross to lead the act in court to try to cancel the act. Over 8,000 Native Americans died when the Indian Removal Act was put in play. The Native Americans wanted more land because the land the Native Americans had was rich soil for cotton and land filled with gold. The U.S. government wanted to expand their land to all its borders. Americans were rapidly spreading and needing homes. The only thing that stopped the Americans from spreading were the Native Americans. The Cotton Kingdom spread, and rich and poor farms looked greedily at the Native Americans' land. Americans started trespassing on the land in search of gold, but the state of Georgia didn't recognize the Native Americans as citizens. The state wanted to move the Native Americans to Ohio, Native American territory. Also, the law said that Native Americans were not to be removed by force. Jackson didn't care much about the law. He forced out the Native Americans, putting them on a trail to Ohio that killed lots of Native Americans. This trail was called the Trail of Tears because many people died and lost their families because of it. In 1824, the Senate voted 28 to 19 to pass the Indian Removal Act. Instead of battling for the land, the Native Americans took the act to court. The Native Americans won, but Andrew Jackson didn't listen to the court and took away the Native Americans' land. Americans kept attacking, so the Native Americans changed the way they lived. They had slaves and farming. They became known as the 5 civilized tribes. This didn't stop the Americans. They stole livestock, burned the towns, and squatted on their lands. In 1832, a war started called Black Hawk War. The Native Americans lost trying to protect the women, children, and their land. The war was caused by Jackson's act, so he decided to keep the process going and sent military troops to the Native American homes. Native American societies are amongst the poorest societies in the U.S. Back then, Native Americans were able to hunt freely without being arrested for trespassing on U.S. territory. Ever since the Indian Removal Act ended, the Native Americans had no free will. Today, the U.S. government controls Native American lands. A treaty made it so Native Americans cannot own any land, so this makes it dangerous for Native Americans who don't have homes. Many Native Americans have died because of Americans. Native Americans believed this land could be shared by everyone, though colonists thought the Native Americans were savages, so they took apart their land and built on it.